Hector moved Cypher to his quarters, where they could discuss in private. As they got there, Cypher entered, with Hector shutting from behind.
Let me make this clear. You wish to see your old wingman again? Yes, safe to say, after getting betrayed and not talking for over 2 decades. That leaves me with some hatchets to bury.
Okay, I will say this much. If you want to talk to him, you have to fulfill our deal first. We will be headed to Uzia soon once this starts to settle in Belka. I don't know how long it will take, but if Pixie is anywhere out there, and you comply, you will see him again. Hector said this convincingly. Cypher knew that he stood on thin ice and did not want to go any further.
Okay, thank you. I'll do whatever you need up there,
Cypher responded. Hector bid Cypher farewell as he walked back to his own quarters, afraid of the paperwork he had to do. Blaze sat outside of his quarters while the others were watching the news together in Nagase's room. He simply couldn't keep watching.
You alright?
Blaze looked to his left, seeing Mobius walk up to him. Sorry, I couldn't bear to see the news. Inside, Talisman and the others tuned into the Belkan news channel, covering the chaos in the streets. Riots, infighting, with the IUN struggling to quell.
It will take a long time, maybe even a few years, but I'm sure that it will calm down, at some point. People can only fight for so long, Mobius said.
I'm not trying to say if it was worth it, but Belkan citizens have a right to be angry. But it's only postponing the inevitable. I guess now we'll never truly move on from being pilots. I try to forget the wars I fought, yet I came back into it. Ironic, isn't it? Blaze spoke up, still rather down about the operation, with Mobius sitting down next to him.
Ah, I know that feeling.
How so, if you don't mind me asking? Blaze responded. Mobius gestured to look up at the setting orange sky.
That.
Blaze took in the beautiful view. It was a gorgeous view, though it pales compared to the view a pilot would get.
I've never stopped flying, but I know someday I will. The human body can't be in the sky forever, and the sky is where I belong.
Have you ever tried to live a normal life?
I started life wanting to see the sky, and I enjoyed being as close to the sky as I could. I would climb trees, go to the highest rooftops, sometimes fall a bit, then climb back up again. I couldn't see anything else to do but be in that faraway land. And that's what scares me the most, not having anything to do for the rest of my life once I was done. So I kept coming back, after the Continental War, to free Erusia, to even now. Protecting my country was one thing, but my life in the sky was another. So missing the Lighthouse War, not having the sky to live in with people to protect, that was a nightmare.
Have you ever considered leaving and just settling down? Family or a close friend? Blaze asked this, knowing he wasn't one to talk himself.
I doubt there is a place out there for me. By the time I can no longer fly, I no longer have a life to live in the sky.
Don't say that. Mobius looked at Blaze curiously. Do you not want to at least try? Try to find a friend or someone more out there? It may not be a life of flying, but I'm sure you'll find a life not worth throwing away. Blaze spoke, trying to stop Mobius from going through what he did at the Circum-Pacific War.
Maybe. Who knows? Guess I'll have to see. I'll be sure to learn from you, however.
Learned from me?
You think I haven't noticed? You and Nagase knew each other as more than wingmen. Let me guess and assume it hasn't worked out. What's with the grin, you bastard?
Just listening. Well, we were still rather young and stupid at the time. After the war, her and I thought that settling down would simply allow us to move on, and we could finally look past it. But it was silly. Two people who had gone through so much during the war, trying to forget everything they both experienced, that was destined to not work out.
You can't just forget war, Blaze. You have to accept it. Talk about it, even. You can't just forget what brought you and your squad mates together.
Man, that seems almost too obvious. Anyway, I need to rest. We've got long days ahead.
Night, Blaze. I'll think about what you said.
You too, friend.
Well, Maybe if life had things like that, maybe I don't need this guy.
As Blaze re-entered Nagase's quarters, Talisman and the rest of the squad looked at him, gesturing to the news. Belka has frequently been showing its distaste for Osea, attacking its own soil, and causing a bloodbath in the streets. From all of the fighting and protesting, there are, however, a group of peaceful protesters that stand bravely in the middle of a road in front of an Osean battalion, citing that Osea's motives to end the source of future conflict do not justify the suffering of civilians. We go live with the protesters' speech. The newscast switched over to a live feed from a news helicopter. People and soldiers of Osea, we do not come to harm. We come to talk. Both of our countries have failed to understand and communicate with each other, and it has led to nothing but meaningless death at the hands of both armies and our Balkan people, our innocents. We understand our mistakes, and while we haven't shown we can cooperate with each other, or rectify these mistakes, resolve our issues, why must civilians suffer if it was not their fault? Let's do what we should have done decades ago. Speak. The person speaking was a beautiful woman of Balkan descent. Short, white, shoulder-length hair, yet surprisingly tall. She was in the middle of a city where gunshots were being heard, yet wore a gentle demeanor and a white dress. The people rallied behind her, before singing together a song Osea was more than familiar with. Alright, I'm in position. Taking the shot. In 3, 2, 1. They continued to sing, and even some Osean soldiers began to sing as well, but were still cautious. A shot rang out. For the longness of a few seconds, the whole world stood still, in silence. Suddenly, crowds of people crammed over each other, rushing at Osea in pure anger and hate, and doing everything they can to take down the Osean battalion, with Osean soldiers retaliating. Marcus grabbed the controller and turned off the TV. Nobody should have to see what they've started. Silence filled the room. Nobody had words. After a bit, Talisman spoke up. What have we done? The next day, everybody woke up and tried to get into a better mood around the base. Between the nightmarish operation and the failed, peaceful protest, nobody could really achieve that. Cypher knew better, and was simply asking what the next move would be. So what do you want to know? Options are limited. Hector spoke up on Cypher entering his office. All I want to know is, what's next? Not much, hopefully. Balkan soldiers are supposedly either retreating or in hiding, but no mention of peace talks were made. Looks like only 1 or 2 operations left until it's all over. Be on your guard, though. Balkans are notorious for their last-ditch efforts. With this in mind, there will likely be an operation to end any remnant forces in the near future. So be ready. Osea finally got off its ass after all this time, and they couldn't have done it worse. I understand that this war would have been even messier if you weren't around. Go talk to your squad. I need some peace and quiet of my own. Cypher wanted to say more, but he took comfort in knowing that. Yes, thank you. And Cypher left at that. As time passed that day, everyone was at a bit of a loss for words, and on what to do. Most sat around and contemplated the war. Kay, of all people, was the one who was occupied the most with her thoughts on the war, and if her actions of going to space and leaving the world behind led to this. Suddenly, she was snapped out of her thoughts by a knock on the door. Permission to come in. I'll leave you alone if you'd like, said whoever was on the other end. Sure, come in. It's unlocked. It was Mobius. Why was he here? She wondered. Sorry to walk in unannounced. I wanted to know if you need anything. I felt someone had to check in. He realized how poorly he stated that, but Nagase had a fun laugh out of it. No worries. Thank you. Have anything you want to ask? Yes, I know this is a bit blunt, but I wanted to ask,
what made you want to become a fighter pilot? Especially tagging along with us to do this.
Well, I started out just wanting to protect people. I used to love the sky, still do, but the more the world goes on, the less peace that seems to remain. There's always fighting going on somewhere. I just hate to accept it, but...
That's why we're here. It's true world peace is impossible, but it doesn't hurt to get as close as we can. I don't worry about such huge ambitions, and neither should anyone. Worry about helping out a couple of people here and there.
Nagase smiled, comforted by his words. Well, I wasn't just in love with the idea of maintaining peace. Pilot's blood kind of ran through my family. Even my older sister was a pilot, and I wanted to be like her.
Wait. What did your sister do?
She was a fighter pilot during the Yuzian Uprising in 1998, and she was a civilian pilot in the Continental War.
The plane she flew, was it Air Ixiom Flight 701?
Well, she flew a variety of aircraft, but that name, that was what she flew when she... Wait. Her and Mobius thought. Mobius escorted a pilot with that name, and saved valuable information regarding Stonehenge. Nagase remembered that story. A lone pilot who had saved her sister when she was attacked by an Erusian aircraft. A blue raptor with a ribbon. The two of them could hardly believe it, laughing about the sheer coincidence, and the two of them talking about how they were fated to talk. But as time quickly went by, Kay had to ask, doesn't it get lonely without being with a squad? Mobius already had an answer.
I didn't always fly alone, but whenever I did, I could never stop worrying about who I was putting in danger. I was too afraid to get someone killed.
Nagase related completely. She understood what it was like to suffer loss. But there was something she always remembered. I know the pain of losing a comrade is great, but your other allies will always be there to lift up your spirits. That's what a friend of ours once said. She smiled as she remembered that herself. Mobius had a grim reply in return.
But that loss will always remain. And some can't get out.
It was easy to know who he was talking about.
Anyway, I need to talk with Hector about the next operation. You take care, okay?
He asked with Nagase nodding. Then he left, with the door shut behind him. Mobius walked to Hector's office. He caught a glimpse of Blaze and Talisman speaking to one another. Blaze was talking about his war stories with Talisman, with him listening like a kid looking up to his hero. Meanwhile, Cypher sat alone, rolling his eyes. Mobius had a quick, though cautionary smile. Hopefully Cypher and Blaze could not butt heads too often. He walked into the office, and noticed Grim and Marcus looking down at Hector at his desk, Marcus showing a feeling of frustration on his face. Listen, I'll tell you, but if I do, I can't have you fly. I don't want to complicate how you feel next mission. Hector spoke grimly. Mobius spoke up.
I'll be honest. Holding the truth from your allies is always going to have a negative outcome. If it just concerns them, then I'll leave.
Hans gave a nod of approval. Hector breathed. Forgive me, but can I please wait until after this mission? I'll tell you everything afterwards, I promise you. Silence followed after.